This week on the MíraLA podcast, I am interviewing Kiah. She's a recording artist, songwriter, producer, and sound practitioner. Her music has been featured on Netflix, Hulu, CBS, and Bravo, and on some of my favorite shows such as Harlem, Queer Eye, and All American. At the core of everything she does is a commitment to sound, energy, and human expression, leaving people better than she found them. Hello.
Hey, girl. That was great.
Thank you.
I want everyone to introduce me walking in every room like that.
Exactly. This is awesome. This is great.
This is amazing.
Because since I've known you, I think we're going into like a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Really? Feels longer.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. I met you through your partner, Mo, who was on the podcast last season.
Yeah.
So it's like so cool having you here.
Full circle moment.
Yeah. But, aside from that partnership, you are your own powerhouse woman. You have your own entity. Mm-hmm. And there's so much to your story that I love, which is why I decided to do a documentary about you.
Casual.
And I really want to give you this opportunity to share with people your story and introduce yourself for the people who don't know who you are.
Ooh, where do I even start? I feel like I've lived millions of lives at this point. Where do I begin? What is time, actually? I feel like every day it's like we wake up in the same way we were just born, and then we have consciousness at some point. Mm-hmm. But I have always been a very curious kid, and I think that's what has brought me to this, to us, to the relationships and the point in life that I have now. Mm-hmm. But to go back in time, I guess I was born to an immigrant mother and a father who was adopted. So technically they're both adopted. Mm-hmm. So there's when it comes to my lineage, there's pretty large question mark there. But my mom was born in Vietnam. My dad was born in Iowa, and they met in college in Arkansas, which is such a random piece of lore, but I always like to throw that in. And we moved around a lot growing up. So we were homeschooled from second grade until sophomore year in high school. We were homeschooled because we moved all around the U.S., mostly in the Midwest, and then the South, and then and then my parents were just over the rat race, and they were like, let's move to Mexico, which is so random because I'm not Mexican by blood at all. There's literally no Latina in me at all. Right. But I love being part of the culture in the ways that I can as a guest. Yeah. And so for that reason, I feel very a kindred kind of alignment and resonance to a lot of just Mexican culture is what I saw growing up. We moved to Cozumel, and then my dad lived in Playa del Carmen, and now he lives in Cancun. So it's just been this kind of melting pot of culture and influence. And I think at the time I was 13 going on 14 when we moved down there. We sold everything, got in this white Chevy pickup my dad bought secondhand, and drove down through Brownsville, Texas, all the way down around till we got to the Yucatan. And so I think that was the start of something actually insane. And I didn't really know. All I knew was I want my friends, and I want to stay in our house. And when you're at that age too, it's you want comfort, you want stability, but that's the opposite of what we had. Yeah. And so music was the only thing that really tied things together for me, and I think it also centered me in a lot of ways. For a while I actually feel like I withdrew into music because my brother plays music too. Mm-hmm. And so music was always the thing that kind of brought me back to myself. And I'll spare you the deep lore, but we moved back to the States off and on a few different times. And then when I was 18, I applied to go to Berklee College of Music. And that was the only school I was interested in, because all the other ones kind of were giving choir music or classical or deep jazz. And I was like, I don't fit into any of those categories because I'm my brother and I were in like folk singer-songwriter bands, you know, we were doing like rock stuff. So it just kind of wasn't the flavor for me. And then when I learned about Berklee, and the Berklee I'm talking about is in Boston. Mm-hmm. When I learned about Berklee, I saw that they have a music production and engineering program. And at the time, it was like one of its kind. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to do that. That was like, I never swayed. My dad still talks about it. I'm sure he'll bring it up to you as well. But he was always like, you've never second guessed what you wanted to do in life. Mm. And he was like, because of that, I was able to confidently like give you that support, you know, and give you some of the resources. And so, I moved up there with my brother. We drove from Arkansas, which is where we were living at the time. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea what I was getting into. But I always call Boston kind of like a training wheels city. Because it's really small geographically. Like there's a lot of city type things, city adjacent things, but it's not that big. Like you can walk the whole city in a few hours. Oh wow. And that's maybe an overstatement, but you can, like, it's a small place. Yeah. And so yeah, it was such an interesting like place to kind of cut my teeth in a sense, because it's freezing. And it was also like concentrated 3,000 of the top musician kids in the world coming to one place. Mm-hmm. So for the first year, I was just in deep existential crisis mode, because I'm fully self-taught. Like,
and these are like the best of the best.
Best of the best, like people who have been Olympic style, like training since they were young kids. I met this guy, he had like a music staff tattoo all the way down his arm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, that's a crazy tattoo. And he was like, yeah, I promised myself I would get it if I got into Berklee. Wow. And I was like, I didn't realize it was like that. I was just like, this just seems like a cool place to go. And so, yeah, that's kind of what kicked off, I guess, the more professional side of what I do. Mm-hmm. I got into the production and engineering program when I was in basically my, I guess, junior year, because it's a really hard program to get into, because they have a limited amount of seats. But when I got in, I realized I was like one of the only girls. Like,
well, I was gonna ask. I feel like your demographic and also just being a woman, like I can imagine it was like one of few, if any. Just
yeah,
you.
I mean, Berklee didn't allow women to come in as students until like, I could be wrong, but like the 60s, I think, or 70s or something like that. Yeah. So it was just a male school. And, you know, I don't wear any sort of chip on my shoulder. I love the fact that I'm a woman. Mm-hmm. And I think that if anything, it motivated me to work harder. It motivated me to be preemptive about things and see problems before they arise. Right. And I think every woman has her fair share of woes and, you know, things that we've experienced, but ultimately it just taught me how to show up and really be about what I say I'm about. Yeah. And not, for lack of a better term, bullshit anybody. Like, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to find out with you. So yeah. Then after that, I stayed in Boston. I was singing in wedding bands for way too long. And it kind of got to a point. I was in wedding bands for like 4 or 5 years. And that was where I really got deeper into performance and emceeing and speaking and remembering, you know, bridal party names and announcing and all that kind of thing. And that's a whole art form in itself. Mm-hmm. But I got to a point where I was just like, I would rather write the songs that people sing at weddings than be the singer singing those songs at a wedding. Because I was just like, I've sung 24 Karat Gold for the last time, damn it. And then I was just like, I gotta see what's out west. Yeah. And I always had this pull to come to LA, but it never felt right, or things just kind of would, you know, stop the process. And so I think it was 2016 is when I started to save up to come out here. And I saved for about a year. That money was gone, honey. Like the first six months out like that. But I made it, and I've been here ever since. 2017 is when I moved. So actually December 12th will be 8 years. And I think it's easy to get here. It's hard to stay here. Especially as someone who's like not from LA, no roots, no community, no nothing. Yeah. It's a really hard place to survive and like find your way, find your people. But I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it gave me the partnership I have, and it gave me the experience in my career, and I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, and I think your story is like such a success story, right? And I think a lot of people, when they hear your story, somewhere along the way they can relate to it. And that's so much of the reason why like I felt this calling to share your story on a bigger platform. But here today I just want to dive just like a little bit deeper to the people who like are just hearing about you and hearing about your story. What season of life are you in right now, both creatively and personally?
I like that question. What season of life am I in right now, both creatively and personally? I think creatively, I'm in the season of like getting back to all the things I used to love. It's almost like you do all of this excavating and all of this searching and diving and, learning your influences and their influences and why do I like this and why do I not like that? And, you kind of go all the way around the full, cylinder of creative influence. And then you kind of get back to that childlike purity where it's like, as a kid, I just loved like Alice in Wonderland, and I loved like old Disney movies, and I loved taking things apart just to see how they work. And I feel like creatively, musically, that's where I'm at now, is like the simplest thing, like the chirping of a bird. I'm listening very deeply, and I'm like, what makes the chirping of this bird different from that bird? What frequencies are there? And that's a whole thing we'll get into, but but yeah, just like, I think my answer really is an answer for both sides, personally and creatively. It's like getting into the details of the present moment that a lot of us find mundane and we overlook or we don't think about. It's like my body, for example, like every single organ is working in tandem with itself.
Right.
Can I try to feel that? Can I try to feel my heartbeat and feel its pulse? Can I try to feel the tips of my fingers and how the blood is circulating into those parts? And it's like our bodies are such amazing technology that we don't even think. Half the time we're putting stuff in it that is actually ruining the process. But yeah, I think it's just getting to the really like detail work of what makes me tick, what makes my ears perk up at this song that I've heard a million times, getting back into like albums that I think helped me feel more centered and gave me a little bit more understanding of like my own world. Someone that I didn't name as a reference, but I call her my real mom, is Mariah Carey, because she's like the reason I can sing.
Right.
I like studied down. If you play me one note from a Mariah Carey song, I can tell you year, album, song name.
Wow. Super fan.
Yeah, super fan, super lamb. And she just, I don't know, there's such a beauty to learning the textures of life. I think there's the obvious things we have to get through, which is like our traumas and, our memories and the things that hurt us in life. But it's like once we kind of familiarize ourselves and claim those, it's like, okay, now how do I work with this? It's like when people say get your shit together, it's like, okay, now what do I do? Once you like gathered your shit.
I have my shit together.
Yeah, okay, now what? So that's, I think the season that I'm at now is like, okay, I've done so much of the soul excavating, not that ever ends, but I've done so much of like the deeper kind of digging. I've done so much of the like sitting with myself, sitting with my demons, understanding what my shadows look like, their names, how they feel, the textures of my ego. And so now it's like, okay, what does even deeper joy feel like? What does deeper listening sound like? Not just with my ears, but with my whole body, with my whole soul. So that's, I guess, deep listening would be the name of this chapter.
Right. And transitioning to your artistry and the album, What is the emotional core or thesis of your current project?
Leave people better than you found them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true of anything that I participate in, whether it's as a host, as just someone who's sharing space, as a participant, as someone observing, you know. And so this album gave me so much, so many opportunities and invitations to ask myself, like, okay, is this honest? Am I being honest with myself?
Mm-hmm.
Could this be not even better? I think that music and creativity and art has become so commodified that we throw numbers at everything. And even podcasts, it's like, oh, top rating podcast. It's like, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Do the people love it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make their heart soar?
Mm.
Does it make them cry? Does it give them something to like latch their teeth into? You know what I mean? Like, does it move people?
Mm.
And if not, then it's mediocre. And we have enough mediocrity in the world. And so, yeah, I think when it comes to specifically this album, it's just like, leave people better than you found them. And it can be what it needs to be for them.
Can you share the title?
Yeah.
Are we sharing the title?
We're sharing the title, yeah. It's called Reminders I'm Alive.
And how did you come up with that title?
Well, if you must know, it was during a mushroom ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
I was guided in this mushroom ceremony so not this most recent summer, but last summer, 2024. For 6 hours, my therapist was guiding me. I had my eyes completely covered. I was laying in bed, covered with the sheets, and she had this amazing album playing. It's called Music for Psychedelic Mushrooms, Mushroom Therapy by an artist called East Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And he specifically makes music for like psychedelic therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And so many beautiful things came through, like so many memories, but also like parts of myself that I hadn't accessed. You know what a mudroom is?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
They're more like common in New England or like areas where it snows.
Mm-hmm.
But a mudroom is basically like the smallest first room of a house where you leave all your like snowshoes and your coats and jackets and all that stuff. My subconscious had showed me, this is where you've been living.
Mm.
It was like, come into the house. We'd love to have you.
Mm.
And I go in the house and it's just this gigantic dome with like plants and trees and like stars and a river. And so it was a lot of like coming back to myself. And I remember at one point my therapist told me, she was like, you left at one point. You were speaking and your voice changed. She was like, I knew it was someone else. Like, it was you, but it was like a different version of you
that came through.
Yeah, it was my higher self.
Whoa.
And I remember specifically the quote being, know the rivers, plains, terrains of your own heart. Know the creatures that inhabit it, so that you may know what does not belong. And that was like, and then, the name Reminders I'm Alive just like came through. It was almost like a heartbeat. It was like pulsing through me. Mm. And I was like, oh, that's it. There she is.
Yeah.
So that's how it came to be.
What part of your truth did you give yourself permission to express in this album that you just didn't do before?
So many. I don't think that's a 1-point answer. I think the truth of the spectrum of experience as a human is so vast. It's like the ocean. Mm. But most people kind of just stay in the middle because it's easier to not feel. It's easier to like numb ourselves or to ignore things or dismiss things and act like they didn't hurt us, or like being too cool to be human.
Right.
That's why at my shows I always say, please give yourselves permission to be human in front of one another. Whatever that means. And so I think that prompt started from this process of making the album, which was like, the truth of getting really, really honest with myself, on like whether it was, you know, past like I've always had depression, and I think that for me it flies kind of under the radar a lot because it's very mild. It's not like this kind of Hollywood portrayal of like I'm gonna be in bed for 24 hours straight and nobody talk to me. It's not like that. It's like my depression is very dull. Makes life feel very dull if I'm not like being active, if I'm not working out or like doing certain things to express. Because I think it was my therapist or another therapist I had spoken to, but she said the opposite of depression is expression.
I love that.
So when we're depressed, it's because we're not expressing ourselves. And we also have a hyperfixation on the past. And anxiety is a hyperfixation on the future. And so that was something that through this album, I really wanted the message to be like, it's okay that that's a part of me. I can't, just because I name it doesn't mean it goes away. You know, it's like, you know, anyone who has like a deep illness, it's like, it doesn't define who you are, but it is a part of your existence. And so the way to acknowledge that, I think, is to bring it to the light and send it love. And like, even though this causes me pain, it's still a part of me. And so I get to alchemize that in my way. And so I think that was a big truth that came through, just like how much of my life I've spent trying to like shove things under the rug or just kind of ignore them or act like they weren't there, or let myself be subjected to them, like being in love with my own victimhood, which is what I think a lot of us do. It's like we stop at that detour, we stop at the place of I've been hurt, I'm a survivor, or I'm a victim. And it's like, okay, yes, I've been hurt in life, people have done me wrong, where have I also done wrong? Because I think in accountability is inherent freedom. There's an inherent invitation to say, how can I choose better now with what I know? Doesn't mean that we didn't suffer. It doesn't mean that we didn't experience something that caused us pain. But what it means is now, okay, I can not only take accountability for how I've caused harm, but I also can take accountability for the ways in which I'm never going to allow myself to be harmed again. It's like a two-way thing, you know?
I've had the pleasure of listening to the album. And
Sneak peeks,
exactly. And it's very healing. It allows me to feel the things that I suppress, and I think that is what this album is going to do. It's really going to open people in a way that they never even knew that they could be opened like that through music.
Did you cry?
Yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah.
I won't say the title name, but the song that you wrote for your sister was just, I think, a universal song that so many sister relationships, sibling relationships are going to hear it and feel that, because it's very deep.
Yeah.
I want to know, what sonic worlds or textures were you exploring on the project?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I love this question. This is also a multi-part answer. Sonic worlds, I was listening to a lot of Kiah Victoria, her album, And Then We Wept. She worked on it for like 5 years, and it's so dense and lush in the best way. Like, it's one of those albums that if you go back, you can hear something new every time, even if you've heard the album, which I have many, many times. And her producer, Ram, he's an alien, first of all. We've worked together a couple times, and like just seeing his process, and like it still baffles me. And I've been doing this for 15 years. Like seeing the way that his workflow is, he will record a whole session, like talking, even just like people hanging out. And he'll use those sounds, he'll manipulate those sounds to be part of the record somehow. So it creates this beautiful soundscape in this beautiful world that just feels so familiar but also really fresh. And that was something that I was like, why do I like this so much? And I think a large part of it is the honesty and the depth that comes from those moments that, you know, the whole like Kodak moment. It's like you can't recreate certain things. You can't fabricate certain parts of humanity. You know, people know when it's real. And I think that was a challenge for me. It was really an invitation for me that said like, okay, here are all the pieces of the puzzle. Can we now like twist them and color them and shape them differently instead of like letting things be what they are? I'm such a tinkerer. And at one point Mo was like, can you stop? And I was like, no. She was like, can you just leave it? It's good. I'm like, no, it can go deeper. And I think that was what took me 3 years to make this album. But yeah, I really dove deeper into like sound design. I dove deeper into, honestly, like a lot of my creative process was just sitting in nature, but like going to the same places to see how that land was changing. Like if you go to the same hikes or the same trails, Mother Nature changes often. And so it was really cool to get to kind of just be bear witness to this land that is familiar somewhat to me, but also just like, oh, I didn't notice that little thing of flowers right there. I was just here last week, you know, or that like this trail is now different because it rained, or like parts of the trail are gone, you know. In the specific place I'm talking about, I've seen baby bobcats, I've seen hawks, I've seen orioles, I've seen all kinds of life that I don't think a lot of people get to experience the gift of, because we are so we've separated ourselves from nature, even though we're a large part of it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With the footage that you've sent over to us that we want to incorporate in the documentary, there were videos of you with your laptop and your mic out in nature. I had never seen that before. And I'm just curious to know like why that is so important for you to do that, to make music out there in the forest, and then how that translates to the studio.
I think it's important because the first sounds we ever heard were passed through the amniotic fluid. The vibration of music that our mothers were listening to while we were in their womb. The talking, them singing to us, like all of that's the first sound bath. You know, like the original sound bath is the sound of a waterfall or the sound of rainfall. Like it's all so actually embedded in our lives, but we don't take the time to notice it. It's like, just because I don't acknowledge the sun doesn't mean it stops shining. But we have this hubris as humans to believe that we are somehow bigger or exempt or separate from it. Like I played a show at this comedy, or I sang at this comedy show, and one of the women was like, make some noise for this tree, like this beautiful oak tree in the middle. And everybody was kind of weirded out, and she was like, this tree is giving you oxygen, first of all, like don't act too proud. And then people were like, yeah, like cheering for the tree. But it's so true. And I think that there's a reminder in being in nature that is very humbling, and it's there to help us. I'll speak for myself, it's there to help me remember how small I am. But even in, you know, my insignificance in terms of like size, I can still do a lot with the tools and the technology that I have, even if it is just a mic and a laptop, you know, because everything is technology. The sun is technology, you know, soil is technology. And I think that it's just kind of maybe a physical manifestation of that reminder. But I think it's just like the more, and maybe this is why people assume I'm vegan, I don't know, because they always do. But I think that the more I explore and experiment with like sounds of nature, it's like just the more I want to be in it. I want to like be in the mud and the muck. I want to be part of it. Even though I am, but I'm not. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to disrupt the process of what Mother Nature is doing on her own and will continue to do long after I'm gone. But I just want to be in it. I want to be part of it.
Yeah. I think it's so cool. Talking about your sound, the healing, self-soothing, you create at the intersection of R&B, pop, and healing. When did sound become more than music for you?
I would say sound became more than music for me when I thought I wanted to quit music. Like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
we've talked about this.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I'd been working with a friend of mine. He was a mentor. He still is a mentor, but he's more of a friend. And, you know, just working with all the labels and charting and marketing and all these different numbers and like, what is this record doing and how is that record doing, da-da-da-da-da. And I was just really internalizing a lot of that, like the politics of it and the numbers and the commodification of what I've always just known to be part of me. Mm-hmm. And I think that internalization really went south because I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to compare myself against these metrics, then I haven't made it. And that was like May of 2022, I want to say. So I guess it was 3 years ago. And yeah, I remember telling my manager at the time, I was like, I think I want to quit. And she was like, you can. Like, that's fine. No one's forcing you to do this. Right. And that answer made me really sad and also kind of mad. I was like, how dare you, person on my payroll? Like, why wouldn't you fight to want me to do this? And she was just like, if you're not happy, do what makes you happy. It was a very like loving kind of big sister, tough love, maybe. Moment. Yeah, where it was just like, do the things you love to do. If this is draining you, stop doing it. Because it's like, I think to the rest of the world, music seems like it's such an elective. But for me, it's literally a part of my soul. It's why I was born on this earth, I think. It's something it's one of the only things in life I've really fluently understood without thinking about it. And so, yeah, I remember telling my mentor friend, I was like, I think I'm done. And he was like, let's meet for lunch. And then we got lunch and I told him where I was at and all my woes and all my drama and overthinking. And he was just like, you haven't defined success for yourself. Period. And that's when I love Aries being Aries, because they will give it to you straight. And he was like, what is success? He's like, is it going on tour? Is it spending time with your family? Is it, what is it? And I really couldn't answer him. Like, I was coming up so blank. Yeah, so I was like, okay, that's a question. And it seems like so simple, right? But there was so much swirling in my head based on other people's version and dream and idea of what success is supposed to be. And I think that's one of the symptoms of commodifying art and expression. It's one of the I don't want to say poisons, but it's one of the detriments to taking expression and shoving it through the funnel of capitalism and all these different systems. And so after that talk, I was like, okay, I need to just like cancel everything. I was like, I'm going to go in my apartment. I'm going to shut the blinds. I'm going to cancel everything. I'm just going to start. And I wasn't like really meditating. Like I wasn't really doing any sort of like, I don't like to use the word spiritual, but I wasn't doing any sort of like self-development, self-growth things besides like I was in therapy. But yeah, this is before I understood anything like somatically really. And I just started asking like, there has to be more to what sound and vibration can do, because in India and Tibet and all these other places in the world, they've been using music and vibration for thousands of years as a healing modality that to us is unproven, but it's like, what does that even mean? And so I just started to get really curious and do more research around like binaural beats and brainwave states and different neuroplasticity when it comes to cymatics and how frequencies can change and alter and build neural pathways, and just getting really deep into that. And I met this woman, her name's Gita Novotnoy, and she is like OG pioneer sound healer in LA. Like when she started, you had to go to the manufacturer to get bowls. You couldn't just buy them off Amazon. Like you had to like go to the factory. And so I met her at this sound bath, and she is an opera singer, but her parents are both in medicine. So she kind of like bridged the gap for me when it came to like the empirical knowledge and the physiological effects of vibration on the body. She was able to give that science to it. And it helped me make a lot more sense, because I was always very turned off by a lot of the like, I'm a sound healer, spiritual crystal girly. Like I was just like, ew. Not to judge, but I was like, there's nothing I can like latch onto with that. It doesn't feel like there's wisdom with that. And I'm not here to knock anyone's vibe. It's more just like, what are we doing? Because if it's just shallow, if there's no real understanding and study and like, you know what I mean? If there's no real, like, not that things need to be academic, but it's like, if there's not substance to it, then we're just selling people a dream. And I don't want to do that. Because for years, my therapist was like, you're a sound healer. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I literally would kick and scream. I was like, no, you got the wrong one. That's not me. And so to bring it all back in and put a bow on it here, I just took the whole summer off and started making meditation music and learning about like the energy centers and what energy center correlates to what organs in the body and what organs correlate to the specific instruments in that like frequency and that key signature, and just like it's so deep. It's I mean, there's literally thousands of years worth of knowledge around it. And so that's when I guess I started just getting more curious around the expansiveness of what music could do, because I was also falling out of love with it. And that was terrifying.
What I'm hearing, and maybe this is helpful for the audience, and primarily the audience is women, when we start to feel unsure of who we are and start to even question the things that bring us joy, it's a matter of becoming a student again and going into that deep process of understanding thyself and who am I and what have I been doing the last 3 years and why do I feel stuck? Why do I feel stagnant? I wanted to know, for anyone listening who feels overwhelmed right now, what is one self-soothing practice that they can do today?
If they feel overwhelmed, I think that's a baseline right now of like living life is just feeling overwhelmed. One of the practices that I really love, and I do this, like sometimes I struggle with insomnia and I go through different seasons of it. Box breathing, like our breath is not only our lifeline literally, but it's also a way, I learned this from a breathwork practitioner, but she said our breath is the direct connection to our emotions, and we can change our emotions through our breath. And so box breathing is just breathing in for a count of whatever you feel comfortable with, like 4, hold it in for 4, breathe it out for 4, breathe it in for 4, hold it in for 4, breathe it out for 4. So we're breathing into the nose, out through the mouth. But in that way, it just helps kind of regulate everything.
And how long do you do that for?
However long you need. Sometimes, like with my mom has a tendency to be hyperactive and like she can hyperventilate. So when I had her do it, we were sitting in Kauai, we were sitting on the coast, and I was like, she has a hard time focusing on her breath because it makes her panicky. It makes her anxious.
To be still, right?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I want you to focus on a wave before it breaks. So focus on the wave, and as it's coming to shore, breathe in. When it breaks, hold your breath. And as it comes closer, breathe out. As you find a new one, breathe in. So that gave her kind of a visual thing. And if you're not near an ocean, you can look it up on YouTube, or you can, find some visual stimulant that can help kind of not distract, but give the mind something to do. Because I think when we're anxious, or we're more prone to anxiety, or ADHD, a lot of times it's because we don't have enough stimulation. Yeah. And so we are like searching for the next stimulant.
That dopamine hit.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's other ways that, even watching a cloud, I know it's easier said than done, but finding visual.
Mushrooms help.
Yeah, mushrooms do help. I'm not here to encourage or discourage anything. But I do think that on this earth, there is something to heal every ailment. And if you take apart the word, disease is a dis-ease in the body. So a lot of times that overwhelming feeling, like sometimes you just got to take a hot girl walk and leave your phone at home.
That part.
Notice things on the walk. How many birds can I count? How many cars can I count? Just giving ourselves, like, when you go on a run and you're like, I'm going to make it to that pole. Once I make it to that pole, I can walk. It's like that kind of like inner challenge. Yeah. But I think when it comes to overwhelm, it's also a language of remembering that we are safe. And if we're not safe, then where can we find ourselves in a space to feel safe? If we need to even just sit in our car, or sit in our room, or sit somewhere that makes us that was crazy.
Sounds are coming through, y'all.
Yeah, she's listening. Sounded like a motorcycle.
That's never happened before.
I love that. Period. She's like, we got to get it moving, girl.
Let's get some food after.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say that is really helpful. Also, tapping is really great. Yeah. Like, I do a lot of tapping, mainly because my anxiety gathers at my throat and my chest. I get like a tightness in the chest, or like a tingling. Some people feel it in their fingers, like Mo feels anger or anxiety in her hands and her arms, which is probably why she's a boxer. But yeah, I think having that somatic language can really help. And I know it's hard in the moment, but when things feel more calm, it's like, okay, where do I feel a sense of safety? Yeah. Or where do I feel fear? Where do I feel anxious? Where do I feel sadness? Like, it all lives in the body somewhere. Yeah. And just to simply ask, I remember my therapist used to ask me that when we first started working together, and I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I would feel a judgment from myself because I thought I had to have like a right answer. And she was like, it's just a question. She's like, you don't have to answer it, but it's just an awareness that you can have. Because if you know where it sits in the body, then you can move it out. And a lot of it can be moved out through the breath.
Let's talk about your community, Resonant Roots. Tell us about Resonant Roots, and what was the moment that you realized that artists really needed a space like this?
I think I've always known that. They needed a space that was inclusive, that wasn't political or cliquey, that didn't center itself around hierarchies or accolades or better than thou-ness. I participated in this camp. I don't want to say the name of it or who was running it or anything, but I participated in this camp in 2021, I want to say. And it was cool. Like, the facility was cool. The studios were cool. I met a lot of really nice people. But the air of it was giving, oh, this room is for the higher ups. This room is not where you're meant to be, because you don't have hits, or you don't, it wasn't said. None of that was said, but it was felt. And and I just kind of, and I think every industry has that. I think every industry has its version of, the who's in club.
It's like separation.
Yeah, separation, hierarchy, politics, whatever you want to call it. And I was just kind of like, it was cool because on one hand I met some of my like closest friends now, and we had some amazing experiences and memories from that moment. But then on the other hand, there was still this underlying kind of like, oh, you're actually not good enough, by the way. And yeah, I think from there, like, the community that I've been a part of and that I've helped, I don't even want to say that I've created, because it would have created itself regardless of me. But I think that this collective of people that I've been learning from and bringing together and benefiting from, just, this reciprocity of what I think community is meant to be, was my response to how I felt in that space. And it wasn't like I'm gonna get revenge or anything like that. It was just like, oh, I don't have a seat at this table, I'm gonna go build another one, a better one.
Yes.
You know, one that looks like different people and all walks of life and all kinds of colors and all kinds of tastes in music and culture and indigenous practices and wisdoms. And that to me is what community is. It's not just people who are all standing close to each other. I think we conflate the definition of community with just people next to us, you know. And yeah, so it's been really cool to, I don't want to claim that I'm like a pillar of this community. I think I'm just a participant in it. And I'm getting to learn so much from people from all over the world and who have all types of lineages. And it's been so beautiful to be a part of that. And I would say it started December of last year was when it really started to like grow more roots and, for lack of a better term, yeah, just really like sprout and getting to see something I love in life, professionally, personally, whatever. I love being a matchmaker. If it's like friends or professional colleagues, I'm like, you would do well with this person. You guys would make amazing art together. Yeah. And like seeing people like, you know, come together and be like friends outside of whatever container I've created. Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess it's still somewhat new in the sense of from like a chronological standpoint, but it feels like everyone's kind of known each other for a long time.
When's the next one?
Great question. We're talking about March or April for the next one. We're going to do a camp based around social justice songs.
Beautiful. So any artist that's listening right now that would be interested in possibly joining the next Resonant Roots needs to follow you. And do you guys have like a website for it, or it's all?
We don't have a website. It's right now. So we've only done 2 so far.
Right.
Mainly because we are self-funded, completely grassroots. We're still aligning on certain partnerships that make sense.
Right.
I think the thing for me was like, I really want brands, partnerships, resources from people and companies that understand the vision and are not just here for like, the thing about songwriting camps is, this is maybe a different podcast for a different day, but the thing with songwriting camps is a lot of times people get to have the optics of posting on Instagram or social media, and then the songs never see the light of day. You know, you meet people and that's great, but it's like, what happened to the music? They just sit on hard drives forever. Because it's, a lot of artists are, you know, ADHD and they get caught up in the shiny things. So it's a lot harder to see something through and finish a song than it is to start a million. And one of my intentions behind these songwriting camps was I want these songs to see the light of day. And not only that, I want to be able to put them into, you know, media or sync licensing or TV shows that speak to what it's talking about. Because we have all kinds of songs, but my prompts were things like, if your music was medicine, what would it sound like? What would it help to heal? You know, and that goes beyond the like charting mainstream kind of like easily palatable music that we're listening to now. But I think that helps it have the legs to stand on its own.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel like I went off on your question, but
no, I love it. Let's talk about your heritage, your identity, your storytelling. How has being Vietnamese American shaped your artistic vision and your voice?
I feel like I'm still learning that now. My mom was born in Saigon, which is now Ho Chi Minh City. She was brought here when she was 4, and there's just such a huge disconnect between us and that side of, we have a whole branch of our family there that I've never met.
Right.
And so there are times when I'm like, am I a fraud? Like, I get imposter syndrome because I'm like, it's not like I've been there and I've worn the clothes and I know the people and I can speak the language. Like I can't.
Yeah.
Not yet, at least.
Maybe that's just like the first gen experience.
I think so. And I think it's taken a lot for me it's taken a lot of working through that imposter syndrome for me to feel confident in claiming that part of my heritage. Because if anything, I understand whiteness more, you know, because my dad's white. and I understand like American whiteness to a very deep level, but then I understand like Mexican culture super deeply too.
Right.
So it's like, it's such an interesting place to live in, this like intersection of being mixed race, whatever that is, that I feel like the Vietnamese side of me, I've been learning to like claim more, but it's still materializing as we speak. I think that one of the biggest motivators for me is like, I think Asian people are mostly invisible here. You know, oftentimes people don't understand that, or they just say Asian, and it's like, okay, well, that just kind of like whitewashes everything, because there's so many different, same way people say African, it's like there's across the diaspora there's hundreds of different cultures and languages and places you can be from. But I think to say you know, oh, she's Asian, it just kind of dismisses that specificity, in the same way that like, you know, if I say Southern, you know, you have like an idea of what someone might, but there's so many different dialects and accents and places, and you know, and I think I don't know exactly why we do that, but part of the reason why I've been implementing more of that part of my culture, even at its limitations, is because I don't think that dismissing ourselves does anything for anyone. And if there's a young, you know, Vietnamese or Asian or even Mexican kid out there that like hears my music or sees what I'm doing and they're like, oh, I could do that too, then that's why I do it. And you know, it's still, like I said, becoming and like solidifying for me. I have yet to actually go to Vietnam, but that's my goal in the next year, is to go there and like go there solo.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, I could only imagine the sounds that are gonna come out of that trip.
Yeah, I think there's a part of me that's also scared.
Potential.
Yeah, because I've had some past life regressions there, like on that soil specifically, that I know my soul has been there in different ways. And so it's gonna be real spiritual. Real spiritual.
What is a truth that you are learning right now?
That's a good question.
You chose it.
Yeah. What is a truth?
Yeah, a truth.
Even when there's been forgiveness, there's always more to unpack. There's always more self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, because I think forgiveness begets trust, but it also begets accountability. And I think that's the truth I'm really learning, is like, the more that I can hold myself accountable, and not in a like, oh yeah, I make mistakes, da 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 da, like in a way that's like, no, I caused you pain. And I'm sorry for that. Tell me where it hurts. Like, if you were to hear your mother say that, how different would you walk in this life? You know, not you, but just
in general. Yeah.
The general you, like to hear, or a parent, period, or a guardian, like to hear them say, I'm really sorry for this thing. I know I messed up, and I know it caused you a lot of years of hurt and a lot of years of needing therapy or needing, you know, whatever, even chronic pain in the body. Like having that moment of acknowledgement, we don't know what it can do for a person, but I know what it can do for me. So it's like, okay, can I start first with myself? Where have I caused you pain? Where have I you know, put you in a space that didn't feel safe? Where have I dismissed your needs? Where have I not even asked what it is that you might want? Like all of those are, it's such a practice, but all of those are they're like very hard-hitting questions for me, because it's such a new like territory to be in for me.
And it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because even like flip the script, like I feel like as much as like our parents have caused us pain, I think as children we've also inflicted that same pain back to our parents. I mean, I know I have, for sure. I'll just speak for myself. And as you were saying that, I'm just like, whoa, like what would that look like if instead of expecting that or wanting to hear that, like, I just be the one to be like, how have I hurt you?
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge the times that I've hurt you. And we continue to hurt the people that we love because we're human.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. But having that self-awareness and to be able to check in that way and show up to just acknowledge the pain,
Yeah.
I think is powerful.
And it requires a softening. That I think if I start whispering, you will too.
Yes.
That's just how it goes. If we soften.
Yeah.
And unless someone is really hardened or really not trying to meet you there, it's not our job to determine how someone's going to respond. But if there is a softer approach, and when I say soft, I don't mean weak. I think we conflate the two a lot. But if there is a softness in the approach, it's like, okay, maybe this is the way that I can help repair some of this language and relationship between us and the things that have been like a thorn in the side of our relationship for so long. You know, especially when it comes to parent-child, because there's such a, like, in my experience, there was always this like authoritative kind of like, you're the child, I'm the adult, you do this, you do that. And then it's almost like as you become an adult, there's nowhere to navigate from that space, because it's like, well, now I'm on my own. So there isn't this like weird animosity towards each other. It's like, I like my mom, you know, I remember my therapist was like, once you start to soften, so will she. And I was like, I was like, that ain't never gonna happen, girl. And I remember like she started to call me. My mom and I didn't speak for like a year. We were just always at odds. And I think I also do better in life when I don't try to understand her. Geminis, I love y'all, but like I don't understand y'all, and that's okay.
That's so crazy. I actually didn't speak to my dad for about a year, and he's also a Gemini.
Yeah. Geminis are on their own wave, and we love them for it. I'm like, cute. Do you, babe. I'm going to have my own house. But yeah, I think with my mom, like I stopped trying to understand her, and I stopped trying to get her to live in a way that made sense to me. And I think that's unconditional love, is like, be exactly who you are. I'm going to have my boundaries. Don't get it twisted. But I don't require you to be anything or anyone or any less or any more than exactly who you are in this moment. And that, I think, in itself, there's an invitation to go deeper with each other and stop, like no longer stopping at the intersection of like, you hurt me and I'm a victim and I'm da-da-da-da-da. Like it almost, not that that isn't true, but it's like, okay, now we can like go through the green light. Now we can go further, you know, and I can get to know you as a human, because I think we forget our parents are being human for the first time as well.
Yes.
No one, you know what I mean? Like, especially their generation. It's like there were a lot less podcasts and a lot less books and a lot less education around this kind of language we're even talking about.
100%.
You know, so much more abuse or emotional turmoil that just got swept under the rug. Like, my heart breaks for my mom's generation of women, you know, who thought that they couldn't survive without a man. And that still to this day plagues her, and not to like put all the dirty laundry out there, but like, you know, I see her sisters always needing to like be in a relationship. And we all have our different versions of how these pains manifest for us as adults. But I think, I think when it comes to the truth that I'm learning, it's really in the accountability of what role am I playing in this equation? It's causing me pain, but is this pain teaching me something? Am I choosing to learn something through being a part of this, whatever this thing is? And how can I choose a little bit better, a little bit softer, a little bit kinder, whether that's to me, to you, to, you know, who, a stranger, I don't know, but I think forgiveness requires accountability. And that's true, I think, in any like real virtue. I think self-accountability is a requirement. It's like a prerequisite to trust, patience, love, you know, honesty, all of these things. It's like there's a deeper self-awareness that I get to have. which will then continue to lead me into this more embodied version of what I'm trying to be.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, there's so many other questions. We're like besties now, so I can just like, talk to you all the time. A closing question. If you could send a message to the version of you who you first dreamt of being an artist, what would you say to her?
Don't try to be famous. I think people that want to be famous have some sort of need and void that they're trying to fill. That's not true of everyone, but I think it was my response, my defense mechanism to certain abandonments and certain things that called for love that maybe I wasn't giving to myself. And I thought, oh, if I got this external mass amount of validation, then maybe that'll fill my cup. And it just doesn't. I've even tried to pour that cup into other relationships or have my cup poured into from outside people, and it's always got holes in it. And so, yeah, I would tell her that she is exactly where she's supposed to be, and that she can let herself notice a little more. And yeah, just find a deeper love for herself in that way.
I love you.
I love you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I feel like we talked about a lot of things, and of course there's more things we could talk about. But is there anything that you feel like you just wanted to share? Or do you think we kind of covered? Or where can people follow you? Because you're always posting such great content too. So
yeah, I'm on Instagram at Keo. It's not Keo, it's Keo, the artist. People always call me Keo. Album comes out March 19th, 2026. Documentary will be out, I think, shortly after that. I would want to offer an invitation to your listeners to allow themselves the question of, where can I be a little kinder to myself today? Whether that's in the internal language, whether that is in maybe don't call your ex or text them. Maybe don't put yourself in a space of people that don't actually care about you. Maybe don't have that next drink. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but showing kindness to ourselves in even small ways can make a really big difference in our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So by being a little kinder, maybe we can change the outside experience that we're having too.
And leave people better than you found them.
Period.
Thanks, babe.
Thank you.